We're not having human interaction like
Right.
we used to.
Welcome to RelyLocal, where we're looking to be an advocate for all good things local, helping local businesses, groups, organizations build better in our communities, and for the local community to engage with these local businesses and organizations. Thank you so much for joining us today and working with us to be a bigger part of helping local in our communities. Today we're very, very fortunate to have Neal Letteney with Key Mortgage, who's going to be able to give us some insights and some wonderful things that are going on in the mortgage world. It is definitely a different time today. There are a lot of things going on that I think a lot of people have questions about. There are a lot of things going on that I think are upsetting the apple cart in many ways when it comes to finances and people's lives. Obviously, a pandemic and a COVID situation hasn't been a big help. But I think what challenges us makes us stronger is a true statement, and it's so wonderful to have you here today, Neal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks. I appreciate you inviting me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing all the great things that you have to say. I would say I usually like to start with people as to what is your background? What do you bring to the table when it comes to helping with people's mortgages? What would you say is the big part of that?
Well, as you know, Nick, the first thing I'd like people to know is that I'm your favorite mortgage lender. It's important to get that straight at the outset.
If you start like that, there's nowhere bad to go.
Compared to me, there's nobody else even on your list. I'm your top guy. I spent 25 years in the wealth management side of finance, on the asset side of the ledger. And then I spent 8 years as a pastor and missionary. And coming back into the secular world several years ago, I became a mortgage lender, moving to the debt side of the ledger. Mm-hmm. So I find that the two work very nicely together because rather than just trying to address the one issue of a mortgage, I have an understanding of the overall financial picture.
Yes.
That can be of great benefit to my clients.
Right. Yeah, I think that really, really big is a big help for people.
I find that it is.
Yes. Fantastic. Now, coming at the mortgage world, I think a lot of people, again, know the mortgages and how things work with the mortgage and what they need a mortgage and all of that. That's pretty straightforward. And I think people should be looking at home ownership. I think it's one of the biggest things to help our communities and help people's personal economies is to have a home that they own, that they're paying into and can say, that's my home. And I own that.
I'd agree in most cases. I think statistically it's roughly 2/3 of American citizens that own homes. It's not for everybody.
Right.
Not everybody can qualify. Not everybody probably should own a home.
Wow,
but point. It is still the number one way that Americans build wealth.
Yes.
And that's obviously a very helpful thing for everyone.
Right. You always hear that that's the biggest investment that somebody's going to have in their life in many ways is the home ownership. So I think it's important to come at it properly and to know the ins and outs so you can do it properly and to, not be taken and not have issues with it. Like you were mentioning, the fact that it's not for everybody, I think is a big point.
And you definitely want to work with somebody you can trust because no matter how much you study, you will not learn as much as a mortgage professional knows.
Right.
You can study wealth management. You won't learn as much as somebody who's spent years either in school and acquiring licenses. It's just not going to happen.
You mean you can't just Google it?
You could. Good luck.
Good question, Becca. I agree with that. I think everybody thinks that they can figure out stuff by just Googling it or
it's the age of information, but I think that we forget sometimes that having an actual person that really understands it and has your back is just invaluable.
You know what I find and this may sound a little counterintuitive today, but I think people are actually starved for that personal attention.
Absolutely.
Without
Yes.
even realizing it.
Yes.
Because we do everything online. We do our research. We look up the news. We order our toothpaste online. We're not having human interaction like
Right.
we used to.
Right.
And I think when somebody experiences it, especially in a way that's very helpful to them, they just kind of
Absolutely.
internally they say, well, that feels right.
Yes.
And maybe don't even realize why.
Yes.
But we're in an age that people need that.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important to have the interaction, especially on such a big investment that they're going to have for their home ownership. And,
Agreed.
They need to find out the best information, and we're so happy that you can tell us a lot of great things here.
Yeah.
I'll give you some treetops, but if people want to drill down, they're going to have to see me personally.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and we'll have that at the end that you can leave contact information for the public to be able to engage with you and find out a little bit more.
Put it in the comments and things. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, people can always do that as they're looking at the video. Would you say, are there costs besides my down payment? You know, a lot of people really are worried about that. They know that they have issues when it comes to their down payment. It plays a huge factor in getting a mortgage. What would you say with that?
You know, Nick, every week I am contacted by people who want to apply for home loans,
Right.
and their presumption is that all they need is the down payment, whether they're planning to put down 3%, 3.5%. They think, well, I've saved up the down payment, now I'm good to go. But there are a lot of people involved in the transaction to get a home loan placed, and those people all need to be paid. It's a
Right.
reality of life. You know, the
Right.
borrower is working somewhere, they expect to be paid. There are
Right.
people working to get your loan in place.
Absolutely.
There are third parties like title companies who do a lien search against the properties. They provide the title insurance. They do the closing service. They distribute the funds they do the payoff of the loan if you're buying a home or refinancing a home.
Right.
There is the appraiser who has to get paid. The lender has a title fee, or a fee
Right.
for the origination.
Right.
It's pretty typical to see about $5,000 in additional costs beyond the down payment.
Wow.
And that's somewhat variable.
Sure.
In some ways it depends on the purchase price of the home.
Okay.
But plan on having more than just the down payment.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on the best formula for that, people should be looking over and beyond the basics when it comes to that and the down payment for sure.
Yes, and even when you refinance a home, now you don't have the down payment, but you still have the other costs.
All those fees, yeah.
Right.
Including the appraisal, that has to be done again.
Right, right. No, I think it's great to have somebody like yourself being able to tell people this and get them ready. I'm sure preparation is one of the biggest parts of this.
It goes a long way. It greases the skids quite a lot.
Because you hear a lot of horror stories when it comes to mortgages for people, and they were just ready to purchase this home, and then something held them up. And you want to be ahead of that. You want to be ahead of that.
I think
Yes,
it's so disheartening when people are, they get excited and they think they're just going to jump right in, and then all these little things, if they weren't prepared, really, it's
Yeah.
very disheartening when you're like, I thought I was going to get a house, and, and
it's
it didn't work.
It's not a foot race, it's a hurdle race. So
Yeah, right.
there are all these things in your pathway that you have to deal with.
You're right.
Yeah, if
right.
you know about them ahead of time, you can prepare, and then
You've got it.
Yeah, that's one of the
great.
huge things. People probably have a lot of questions too when it comes to their credit. How would you say credit is used today for helping people get into the proper mortgage?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who think, well, my credit is really good now, compared to what it was.
Right.
And that may be true. Scores in the 5s are going to have a very hard time getting a loan from anyone. Scores in the 6s, depending on where you are, you're going to qualify for better terms, better loan programs. The higher your score goes, if you get in the 700s, you're looking a lot better.
Right.
But there are things I can do for many, many people, even with scores throughout the 600s.
Okay.
The best terms are going to come when people are approaching the 800s or
Okay.
so.
Okay.
But one thing people don't know, very, very rarely know, is that if you've had your credit pulled once for
Right.
a mortgage review,
Okay.
and you have it pulled again within 40 days, it's considered the same pull.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
So if you've gotten a quote from a mortgage company and they've told you here's what it would cost to do this with us, you are not out anything by having another company compare their programs and give you a second opinion, as long as that pull happens within 40 days.
Okay.
So there's no cost for the review. In fact, at Key Mortgage, we will give you a $100 Visa gift card just for taking a second look with us, whether you go with us or not. So
Okay.
not only does it not cost you, not only does it not hurt your credit, but you'll get a nice dinner out, depending on your tastes, I guess.
No, that's fantastic. I think a lot of people have struggling to understand their credit situation and how that impacts for their life.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I commit to all my clients is I'm not just going to tell you what your score is. I'm going to help you understand why your score is what it is,
Okay.
and how you can improve upon it. There are actually ways I have that I can help people's scores increase substantially within a month
Wow.
Yep.
in the right circumstances.
Oh, that's huge.
I have clients right now that are going through that process, and then
Okay.
they'll be in a more favorable position to get a better loan
There you go.
in about a month's time.
Yeah, I went through that when my husband and I bought our house. We had, some holes to plug and things to do. And
Listen, I rarely see a perfectly clean application. So
well,
I feel that.
I didn't realize that it wasn't just about credit, but they look at the debt to income ratio kind of thing, and that was a huge thing where I was like, oh yeah, I've never really thought about that. I mean, I did, but I didn't have like a term to put to it. And then when we really looked at everything, that was where we had to do some balancing and figuring it out. So that was something I didn't know ahead of time.
And let me speak to that, because debt to income ratio is one of the primary factors that the government regulations give us in approving a loan. Typically 43% debt to income, 45%, 50% on some loan programs. But this is what a lot of folks don't understand, even beyond the percentages,
Right.
is what are we talking about when we say debt? We're not talking about the amount.
Right.
I see people who are doctors, physician assistants, pharmacists who have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. It's not the amount of debt that comes into play here. It's the amount of your monthly payments.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So the debt to income is this ratio between how much you are paying out every month
Okay.
versus what you're bringing in.
It's like what
in
you're
gross
obligated to
income.
pay. Yeah. And
Oh, okay.
it was
Okay. Interesting.
it was something I hadn't really
Yeah.
considered. And I was like,
And
okay.
only certain categories of payment count. We don't count things like rent. That's going to go away when you move
Right.
into a home.
Right.
Right. Yes, I would assume that. So that's good information. Obviously, somebody should be talking with you probably pretty much as soon as they can. I would assume would probably be the best thing to have a lot of lead time there to be able to work with all of this.
Well, the inclination is to start out by shopping online for your home before you get any information about your loan. And I get it, because that's
it's
the
exciting.
payoff.
I want to get that. Look at that
Yep.
house.
That's the payoff. That's what gives you the warm fuzzies, the thrill is, wow, I can see myself in this
that
house.
house,
Yeah.
right.
But you're not going to get there without the loan unless you're fortunate to pay cash for the
Right.
house.
Right.
You have an
Then go ahead.
inheritance or something.
Right.
Shop
Then
your
go look on
architect.
Zillow.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're best served by finding out about the loan as early as you can. I will give you an assessment, even if you'd like to just talk through your circumstances with me before you apply. I'll do that for you. Otherwise, it costs you nothing to apply, just a credit pull if you want to consider that a cost. It's a short-term ding on your credit. But then we know. Then I can tell you exactly what your debt to income ratios are and how close you are and what you can afford.
Right.
No, I can see how that plays very much. So, Becca, do you have a couple questions?
So Neal, what type of loans and lending do you actually do?
Yeah, it's a great question, because many institutions will only offer certain types of loans. In fact, every lending institution is going to have those they do and those they don't. We offer a very broad category of loans to folks who may otherwise think they couldn't get a loan.
Okay.
So, let's start with the standards. We do conventional loans, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. We do, and don't worry if those terms don't make total sense to you. I'm here to explain that to you. We do government loans for veterans, for folks who really would only qualify for an FHA loan, which is a great program for the right people. We will do loans for self-employed people. We'll do loans for non-citizens. I did a loan, maybe the most exotic loan I've done in recent memory
Exotic
was for
that sounds so fun.
was for a non-U.S. citizen
Okay.
who was from a former Soviet bloc country.
Wow.
He was a citizen of that country, not this one, and he's self-employed, owns a trucking company. This is in Illinois, and his company makes a great deal of money, but it shows a very small amount of income on the tax return.
Right.
Because we know that
Expensive.
your
Absolutely.
accountants have been hired to reduce your taxes,
Right.
but they haven't necessarily kept in mind that you might want to get a loan
Get a
at
loan.
some
Right.
point.
Right.
And so we have some creative ways of underwriting. In the case of this gentleman, we were able to use his bank statements, which showed cash flow more than sufficient to make the payments on the home.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that satisfied our underwriters. We could place that loan. I'll refer to my list so I don't forget some of these things. Many people don't realize your down payment can be as low as 3%
Wow.
for a conventional loan, 3.5% for an FHA loan. We even have down payment assistance programs. I work in both Illinois and Wisconsin, and we have several different types of down payment assistance that'll make it easier for people to get into a home. We have home loans for manufactured homes. We've got, we have, well, what's called jumbo loans for very, very larger homes in excess of $500,000. We will convert your construction loan to a permanent loan. I'm doing that right now for a client. You know what? The thing is, if you have something in mind, just ask me.
Right.
Will we do it?
Right.
People will often think, well, I'm self-employed. I don't show any income. I can't get a loan.
Right.
You might be able to get a loan.
Yeah, that's a big one. I've never heard of that, so I'd actually like to know more about the self-employed loan thing. That's
Yeah.
I know a lot of
can hook
people
you
in
up.
that space. Yeah.
I know a
It's
guy.
very fortunate
Yeah.
that we have Neal here
Yeah.
to help us find that direction. So, yeah, I think the circumstances with loan knowledge is probably very lacking for people. I'm sure you see that a lot.
Well,
Where
you don't
people-
need it.
Yeah, where
Right.
people come in and
You only
talk
need it
with
once,
you.
hopefully.
Right, right. Well, yeah, hopefully.
And then
not too
why would you
often,
remember
so-
it? Yeah.
And yeah, how can you remember everything? You know, not everybody knows everything, but
Well, if my car needs work, I don't need to know how fuel injectors work. I need to know the guy who knows how fuel
Right.
there
injectors
you go.
That I would rather not know. Don't tell me how the sausage is made. Just make it.
Fantastic. And the other
I'm not
thing-
that person. I want to know
You wanna
everything.
know,
I do.
yeah.
I was really annoying to my mortgage broker. I called him all the time, and I was like, "So I have more questions." So
And that's fine.
he told me I should be an underwriter. Is actually what he told me. He was like, "You should."
I
be
will
have an underwriter."
gladly help people understand if that's what they want.
Yep.
It's really a matter of preference. In my case, I just like to know I've got somebody
Mm-hmm.
working on my behalf who knows what they're doing.
And I think that's how I ensure that is I ask lots of questions. And if they've got an answer for me, then I'm like, all right, they know what they're doing. Like, because that's great.
Well, I suppose you're testing people to feel comfortable with
Yeah,
them in some way,
I mean, it was
so
the
I
biggest
think that's-
purchase we ever made, and I
Yeah.
wanted to understand all the
Right.
parts because I didn't want
Right,
something to
right.
come back to bite me and be like, oh, we hadn't considered that, and things
Have
like
them
that.
go
so.
over your loan estimate with you and your closing disclosure. These are two very important documents. So when you first gotten approved on your application, the company sends you an LE, a loan estimate. It shows you what all the costs will be, what the payments. It's
Yep.
a projection.
Definitely where I got a lot of my
Yeah.
questions. I was like, what's that for?
Closing, you get a closing disclosure, which is a very similar document,
Right.
but it's much closer to the actual figures.
Right.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, and I lined those up and had more questions.
You're
So,
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'm a homework kind of person. So with that in mind, like how difficult or easy is it to apply for people? Because I think that's a daunting thing for a lot of people. Like, oh, the paperwork. That's
Right.
always
I
a
don't
little
wanna
scary.
start
And
that,
like, will I
right?
have
Yeah,
all the
oh my gosh, I don't
information?
wanna
And
get into this,
exactly. So
I'm glad you asked that because we have made it so easy. I send you a
Great.
link to your phone or to your email, and you click through and answer the questions, it takes most people 15 to 20 minutes
Not bad.
To apply for the loan in
to
general?
apply for the loan.
That's amazing.
Now then it populates my system on my desktop and I get to work, and then I will have some additional clarifying questions for you. That's all the time.
Right.
But that's
Right.
my work. That's on my end.
Right.
That's not yours. And you'll have to
So
provide
you do the
some
paperwork.
documents. Well, you will have to provide documents.
Yeah, I remember
But
that.
we even make that easy. You can use your phone with the same password that you set up to do your application. Take a photo of your document and upload it right through the secure portal.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
So easy.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's quick.
Many people get all their documents to me in one day.
Oh my gosh, fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, I suppose that leads into a question, with how hot the market is today.
Yeah.
That speed sometimes is super important in those aspects to be able to capture that house. If some homes are getting 10, 15 offers on them, how do you battle that? One, maybe if you can get way ahead of it again before you see that home and you're ready to go. But maybe if you see something and you're not ready to go, it's nice to know that you can get it done in a day like that.
Well, you'd better be ready to go, because an offer without a pre-approved mortgage is not even going to be tendered by the real estate
Right.
Yeah.
agent.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you have to have that.
Right.
Competing, it is a tough market in that sense. It's great if you're a seller.
Yeah. It's
People-
time to sell for
people
sure.
flood your home, and in fact, in 2020, roughly half of all offers that were made on homes in America were sight unseen.
Oh,
As
my
is.
gosh.
Yep. No
The
contingencies.
realtor
Nothing.
walks through with the phone and shows you
Oh my gosh.
real time. Here's what we got. Do you like it? If you like it, make an offer.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
So it's tough if you're a buyer right now. Have your lender approve you for as much as you qualify for. The
that's-
difference in your payment for every $10,000 nowadays is going to be roughly, give or take, $5-6 for every $10,000 in home price.
Okay.
So you at least have a rule of thumb to go by. If I ratchet up my offer in a bidding war, can I still afford this?
Right.
And it's my job to tell you, as far as government regulations are concerned, here's the maximum amount you are allowed to pay.
Oh, okay.
So when you know
right.
what that cap is,
Okay.
then you're well equipped for that bidding war.
So even if you get into a bidding war, there's still like a cap where there's it's
You
not
can-
worth more than
listen.
this. That makes sense.
You can offer more, but if they accept your offer, now you've got to come up with the
cash,
difference.
the
Because
difference.
it's not that we'll tell you, no, you can't buy the home.
Right.
We'll tell you, this is the maximum we're allowed to lend you.
Yeah.
So if you have a rich aunt who'll help you out, that's fine. We won't frown on that.
Cash is king. There we go.
It is.
Right.
Did I
Yeah.
answer that question for you? Was there more?
I think so. Well, I think a lot of it really comes down to sometimes people, transient times today, where people are changing jobs quite a bit. Do you find that that can play into being an issue too? If you are into a new job, and now what do you do when you have this great opportunity for your dream home? You want to be in that home, but oh my gosh, I just got this job going.
Yeah, it's another thing people don't often understand
Yeah.
is you can have a new job, but you really can't have a new career field.
Right.
okay.
That came into play with my husband.
You
Yeah.
have to be in the same career field for 2 years
Okay.
in order to count that income
Okay.
for the
So it
the
can be a different
application.
job, but if
Oh,
it's in the
yeah.
same industry, you're proving that it's still like a consistent
Interesting.
career that you have. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Betcha a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, we didn't
that's a
either.
new
We
one
were
for me,
concerned
yeah.
about that, and we were like,
Nobody's
oh,
going to
great.
fault you for taking a better job.
Right.
Okay.
You know, whether it was for better pay or better working environment, whatever it is.
Seems
Right.
counterintuitive.
But and we will count your current income in that new job, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to show us a history that you've been in that career field or a closely related
Similar, yeah.
career field.
Something that you
Okay.
can transition easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
That
if you're-
is-
listen,
I just
if-
learned something today.
If you've
Yep.
been in a job for a year and 9 or 10 months and you're thinking about buying a home, don't change jobs. Even if you're thinking, I'd like to get out of what I'm doing and get into
Right.
something
Mm-hmm.
else. just hang on a bit. Just tolerate that
Get the
coworker
home.
of yours.
Get the
Yeah.
home.
Yep.
And then we can move
Once
on.
you got it, you can change careers.
You certainly can.
I really, really want to do this or that.
Just don't quit. Just don't do nothing after that. That would be bad.
I've been wanting to be an Elvis impersonator all my life. I'm just going to hold off.
Just a couple more months until we get the
Moving
house.
on, right? Yeah, there we go.
Then we'll buy the sparkly bell bottoms.
Oh my gosh. I guess that kind of leads into kind of closing here a little bit. A lot of people, again, are battling when it comes to getting that home that they want. Today's hot market is probably really difficult for buyers. Obviously, sellers are really happy. You know, the more they can get, the situation is great. But then those people might have to get into another home themselves.
That is
And
an issue.
So
The domino
oh my
effect.
gosh, this
Yep.
is the best thing. I never thought I'd get this much money for my home. And
Now
then
where do
all
I
of a-
go?
Now where do I move
There's no
to?
houses for
You
it.
know?
Yeah.
A lot of condos probably and some rentals going on.
Are you finding that people are what are they doing for that? Are they building? Are they what seems to be kind of the solution in that?
Building is a
path?
challenge right now, too, Nick.
Okay.
The winter storms that went through Texas, a lot of builders have gone to work down there.
Oh,
The
okay.
price of lumber for new construction has increased by 200%
Yep.
in the last year.
My God.
The average price of a new home has gone up on average $24,000 across America from a year ago.
Wow.
There just isn't enough new building. And then we have local municipalities and other government entities introducing legislation where there are zones that you must have a certain ratio of affordable housing to expensive housing. There's just a lot of red tape.
Yeah,
Right.
to
a lot
get
of bureaucracy
Right.
and
Yeah.
hoops to
Right.
jump through.
And it's not that I'm in disagreement with that. I hope there's more affordable housing for people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of those things that's a bit of a cause of mine, is to see people who are underprivileged be able to get into good quality, safe housing.
I think that's important. It's kind of where we started today. I think a lot of that is really coming into that direction where I think home ownership is so hugely important for our local economies. People being connected to the community. A lot of what we're doing with Rely on Local is community activity and community help. And I can't see a bigger focus than people being connected to the community because they have that home, they own that home.
Agreed. The community service is very important to me. I serve as the vice president of the Hispanic Roundtable. I'm bilingual.
Okay.
I can help people get a loan who are Spanish speakers,
Fantastic.
immigrants, people who are here on ITIN numbers and not Social Security numbers,
Right.
which is a different type of tax identification. I can help those folks.
Wonderful.
Not everyone will qualify. Some people don't have the 2-year work history.
Right.
Right.
Some are working as subcontractors and don't have any demonstrable income at all.
Sure.
So we have to make sure the ducks are in a row.
Yes.
But if they are, there's a lot of people I can help.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, in closing, do you have any comments that you'd like to leave the public with about mortgages in the home world?
I guess I would say, don't let the fact that you have questions stop you from reaching out. In fact, if you have questions, that's all the more reason to reach out.
Yeah.
I would love to answer them for you. You will reach me at all times, day and night. You won't reach me on Sunday mornings when I'm in church. I'm generally preaching somewhere on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
But most of the rest of the time, you're going to reach me. I'm happy to answer your questions. And then you'll know whether or not you can pursue this at all.
Right.
Right.
A lot of folks are wondering that.
Yes. Yes. It's great to have that and your availability. That's so fantastic. So people, please reach out to Neal. We're going to have information within the posting of this podcast to be able to reach Neal. He's with Key Mortgage, or you can reach out to me, and I can definitely get you in touch with Neal. Neal is a RelyLocal member. We're super happy to have him come in here today and help us today learn a lot. I tell you, I learned a lot in just these few minutes here because there's so much going on with this. I think a lot of people don't realize the ins and outs, so this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Neal.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you both very
Yeah,
much.
thanks for coming. It was nice.
Fantastic. And thank you for watching today. Rely on Local is really looking to help our community, looking to help local businesses and organizations gain connections, gain visibility, Please reach out to me if we can help you with anything. Please share this. Please like this. Please refer people. Please subscribe. We would love to build this program and this Rely on Local podcast to be bigger and better. And thank you for your time today. Have a great day.